Here we are.
Here we are.
Have you been to the Milwaukee Park before?
Have I?
Been to the Bucks Stadium and like that lot, which is really cool.
Yeah, we went to the Bucks, but I have not been to the baseball stadium. I have not been to like Lambeau or anything, Green Bay. Only, and I went to the Wisconsin Dells. The Dells are a little town in Wisconsin that is all water parks. There's even water parks inside at the hotels. It's such a, if you ever have the opportunity to spend like a weekend in the Dells, I would suggest it. It's a lot of fun.
That's Wisconsin, you said?
Yeah. It's got to be less than an hour from Milwaukee because we got there from Chicago in a couple of hours. So. I always said it's sort of like the Dells feels like if a 12-year-old designed Las Vegas or something. So instead of a casino at every place, there's just like water parks everywhere. Then there's like, an alligator petting farm or whatever, all that kind of shit. There was one particular really good breakfast place, but I can't remember the name of it. But a lot of water slides. I haven't been on a water slide since then. You guys water slides, guys? You like a good water park? Oh
yeah, I water slide to work. It's my preferred mode of transportation.
That's how you beat LA traffic.
That's it. Just slip and slide myself.
Yeah.
Slide the whole way.
Use one of those backyard things, like that you run and slide on. Just lay out the plastic from your house to work.
That's
a sprinkler.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, all right. I've finished this article about Senga.
Oh, yeah. I'll talk about it on the pod. Yeah. We ready to go? There we go. Everyone ready?
Sure.
All right, let's do it. The Rights Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS and brought to you by MortgageCS. Become a MortgageCS Ricky VIP by going to mortgagecs.com/Ricky. Big Barker dog beds. Get yours at bigbarker.com/Ricky. BodyBio. Get 20% off any BodyBio product with code NORMAN at bodybio.com. And Kinetic Skateboarding, get 9.1% off your first order with promo code Dave Silver. On the show today, a listener has a theory involving the Sixers, Julius Randle, and Karl Anthony Towns. I have some questions for Mike about training camp, about what he's buying and not buying. Jahlil Okafor talks about Bryan Colangelo in not the most positive of ways. And the 3% of Ricky listeners who are women have reached out to show that they exist after the conversation on the last pod. So right. we do have a few emails from them. We have 3 weeks until Bark in the Park, supporting Providence Animal Center. Thank you so much to LL Pavorsky Jewelers, DraftKings, and MortgageCS for being the sponsors of our Bark in the Park team. We want to raise $20,000. We're at $10,300. We need to get to $13,500 because what that will do is get us to the number where Ricky listener Josh will match. He will match $6,500, and that'll get us to $20,000. So there's still time to join the team. The event is October 26th, and you get our sweet team t-shirt if you do it, or you can just donate. The link will be in the description of this podcast. Carl Landry Record Club Live 2 is on sale. It's happening November 20th at Underground Arts, our home away from home. We will be celebrating the release of our friend Jason's new book, It Starts With One, about Lincoln Park. So it'll be a live pod about the book. And with AU will be there too. And then a new metal night where we'll just listen to tunes. We have a DJ there afterwards. GA tickets are $10. And if you spend $29.08, you get the ticket, but you also get a book that Jason will sign. And that is cheaper than you're going to find the book anywhere anyway. And you get a ticket to the event. So you should do that. The link for that is also in the description. Kinetic Skateboarding. Woohoo! I think for me, I'm not a skateboarder, but I am still a Kinetic Skateboarding customer. How, you may ask? The sneakers, the t-shirts, the hoodies. The stuff that I find there, I am not finding anywhere else. Now, perhaps because I don't go to skate shops, I'm not a skater, but I think the shit is cool. Sneakers, you're not finding anywhere else. New Balance, Vans, Nikes, all that kind of stuff. And t-shirts and hoodies also, that You're not going to see anywhere else. And what I would suggest is sign up for their mailing list at kineticskateboarding.com. Follow them on social because sometimes the drops happen real quick and you got to be ready. And you can use code Dave Silver for 9.1% off your first order. Without any further ado, Amos and the chef.
Laddie, sweetie, the man is here. Say the name. I say the name. I say the name.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Say the name. Say the name. I say the name. I say the name, mama. Say the name.
Life's tricky Sanchez forever.
To the Rights Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with a guy who looks a little more tired than he normally does on a Saturday morning. That is Mike Levin.
Some late nights at work, brother.
Yeah?
Some late nights at work.
Brother.
Brother, it's been some late nights at work, okay? Fucking arguing with Sixers Adam. He told me the other day that he's like, I think they're going to have Cal Stevenson on the postseason roster over Cody Clemens. And I was like,
Oh, there's no way that was
bet
gonna
me
happen.
$100 that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Anything. I just kept saying $100. Anything. And he was like, if this happens, if they play the right team, if whatever. I'm like, $100 doesn't matter. There would be nothing in the world that could keep Rob Thompson from putting Cody Clemens over Cal Stevenson on the postseason roster.
The only way
and lo and
Cal-
behold,
Yes.
and
it's
Sixers
Cody
Adam is
Clemens.
hitting me with some ifs.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear the ifs.
The only
I
if would
I
have
don't even
been...
want $100. I just want to know that I want it. I earned it.
Yeah, get
You
it
are
from
in
him.
debt to $100 to me
100%.
forever.
He should have to work it off as your butler.
He should have to work it off.
Yeah.
That's right.
The only way Cal Stevenson was getting on the roster is if Austin Hayes wasn't like back. Like if Austin Hayes was still hurt or something, then maybe. But he wasn't getting over Cody Clemens.
No.
What's he talking?
Rob Thompson is making the decision. What are we talking about? Ridiculous.
Speaking of which, might as well get this out of the way.
Too busy in the Bahamas.
Yeah. 833 lick phase. We got this voicemail, which is correct. This voicemail.
Spike, listen, I may not have agreed with every single thing you said, but the thing you said today on the podcast about being scared of the Mets, that's unacceptable. The Mets are the trashiest team in baseball. I know it because every time I go and sit in the 100 level at Citizens Bank Park, I get surrounded by Mets fans yelling and jerking off everywhere. So please, especially on your radio program, do not spread fear-mongering about the Mets. That's the worst thing this city could possibly get right now. We need an allied front, take Mike's advice, and not be scared of anything because the Mets are trash, a joke of a franchise. Anyway, have a good day.
Yeah, I agree, and I apologize. I think what was going on was it had been too long since the Phillies had played, and I was watching the Met stuff, and I was getting nervous, but could have easily just lost to the Brewers too. So I'm not afraid of the Mets, and honestly, the joy of beating the Mets and getting to hold that over coworkers' heads, it outweighs the fear of losing to the Mets for me. So you were right. I am wrong. I changed. I think Thursday became United. So I feel good.
Yeah, got to beat the Mets. I have nothing negative particularly to say about the Mets except for I hate them. I've always hated them, and I want to beat them quite badly.
Yep.
Can't let what happened with the Knicks and
No.
infiltrating it can't become Citi Field. We need to fucking get there.
Yes.
And I know I'm saying this from very far away, but you get me to the NLCS and I'll take care of it from here. We got to beat the Mets. You got to just dominate. You got to embarrass them. You got to make them feel like shit. It's crazy that this is the first time that these teams have faced each other in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, up until 20 years, they couldn't have, because they were in when it was for a lot of their existence, they were just in the same division, and there was no way, pre-wild card era. It couldn't have happened. And
Well, they
then
could have met in the NLCS, couldn't they have?
no, they would have. I mean, before this, it was only one team from the East and one team from the West.
20 years ago, it was still like that?
Well, whenever they started Wild Card, I think they probably, I don't remember when they started Wild Card, but for most of their existence, they couldn't play each other. So, and then we had the 13-year drought of even being in the playoffs, which makes it hard to, or 10-year, 11-year drought of being in the playoffs, which makes it hard to face any team in the playoffs, actually. So I feel good. By the way, if you want to go to, speaking of invading ballparks, if you want to go to Citi Field, Fans of Philly has a trip for Game 3. Just go to fansophilly.com. There's a bus, and Ike and Jack I will be there too. So I'm not going to be on the bus because we got to get there earlier to do the show. But if you go to fansophilly.com. So I feel good about the series. Look,
Gotta win.
we have better pitching staff, but better starters, better relievers, better lineup. Got to win. Got to win. Got to win. Got to win. So we got this email from Sheil, not Sheil, Ringer Sheil, a different Sheil that emails us all the time, writes to RickySanchez@gmail.com. Sheil says, Morey has been known to inquire about every star player in the league. Given the Sixers' obvious need at power forward, or, for the mics of the pod, a guy over 6'8" that can play with Embiid, is it possible that the Knicks or Minnesota were both leveraged into making this trade now? And if so, was Morey inquiring about Randle or Towns, or maybe both? They couldn't have traded for Towns now. From a financial standpoint, they couldn't have traded for Towns. So I don't think that made any difference there. Do you think Daryl would have showed any interest in Julius Randle?
I don't.
No.
I
He
don't.
could have.
Not
They
at
could
the
have made
price
that
tag.
work salary-wise, I'm sure, somehow. But I don't think, because I think he's only making like 25 or something. But there's no way they could have traded for Towns. I don't think it's impossible that at one point pre-Paul George that Daryl may have made a phone call about Karl Anthony Towns. I don't think that's impossible that he would have checked in, but I don't think the teams were leveraged into it because Daryl was pursuing either of them. Julius Randle would be not a good fit on this team, and also he's a loser. Now that doesn't preclude Daryl for trading for him, might even make it more likely, but I don't think he would have traded for Julius Randle. Julius Randle's a ball stopper, guy that needs the ball constantly to score, your classic leading scorer on a team that's not going to win anything sort of guy Julius Randle is. So I don't think so.
Yeah, if he was like free basically and he's expiring, so Daryl could have gone like, well, I could trade for him now for, he's an improvement over KJ Martin and a couple minimums, whatever, maybe a second round pick, something. I'm not saying that was the cost. I'm saying if that was the cost, then you could trade for him, see what it's like for half a season, and then move on at the deadline for someone that fits a little bit better. I wouldn't put that past Daryl, but I don't think that Julius was high on his list of players. I like Julius Randle, not as a player I would want to have on my team.
Yeah.
I think he is kind of a unique throwback of a kind of player. He seems like a decent guy. And I like bully ball as a guy that just wants to see fucking, smaller players pound into dust.
Yeah.
I enjoy that sometimes, but I also don't think that he should have been on this team. For sure.
Also, did not handle New York particularly well. I don't think, there are certain guys that can handle Philadelphia and Northeast sports markets better than others. Julius Randle isn't like super high on my list of guys that could handle it here. So I think there are a lot of different reasons not to trade for Julius Randle. That isn't the top one, but it's one of them. I don't think Daryl would particularly be interested in Julius Randle. And the Knicks, from a trade chip perspective, only have so many left, and Julius Randle was one of them. And your scenario in which they're basically trading him for nothing, I don't think would have been a scenario that the Knicks would have explored. I think they would have just let him expire over trading him for nothing at all, I think.
Yeah, I don't think it would have been I don't think it's like a missed opportunity.
No.
It would have been in a situation of a 3-team trade or something like that he got rerouted after the fact.
Okay. So the next small segment of the pod, we can't watch training camp. People like Sixers Adam who simply use us to get a job so he can go to the Bahamas. But we are not so lucky like Sixers Adam is. So we can't really see anything that's happening in training camp. All we can do is hear the words and and say whether we believe them or not. So I have two little instances of are you buying it, or three instances of are you buying it or not buying it about Sixers training camp.
Here we go.
First
Seems like
one,
a big graphic should come up being like, is
Buy
Mike buying it or not?
buy it or sell it. Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah. Okay. First one, Joel Embiid has lost 25 to 30 pounds and is in great shape.
You know, we talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I'm monitoring it. It's in my tabs. If I see it like it's on sale, I have it on my tabs, and I'm like, I could buy this,
Okay.
but I'm not sold on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. I agree with you. Now, he has said things like this before and been sort of snarky or almost trolling in when he has said it about what he's done in the offseason. He did not appear to be that way when he said it last time. So, you know, that makes me believe it a little bit more. It puts me a little bit more on the believe it, you know. Oh, you know, before we get to the next one, I do want to get to Shield's non-basketball question. I think it's a good one. When a child is throwing a fit in public, do you feel bad for the parents, or do you feel frustrated by the parents not handling the manner in which you would? For example, the kid is absolutely whining at the top of their lungs, and if they were an adult, they would be arrested for disturbing the peace. And the parents are either ignoring it or just not handling it as fast as you like them to.
I definitely don't think the kid should be arrested.
No, that's not what he was saying. I think.
I know.
Yeah.
I think sometimes both, depending on where the behavior is happening, how the adult is reacting, that kind of thing. If there's some like the parent is trying and the kid is just like a fucking kid, then it's like, that sucks.
Yep.
But if the parent's just like, whatever, go fucking scream around, then it's like, come on.
There was a situation on a plane the last time I was in LA, and there was a kid in front of me, and every time the dad would, you know, rock the kid or whatever, not punch, but like, you know, bounce them, the kid would stop crying. And he stopped doing this for easily 45 minutes. And I just wanted to grab the guy by the throat and say, brother, you know how to solve this problem. Like, now is not the time to teach your kid a lesson. Now is that you're not always going to rock them when the kid starts crying.
Yeah, you could have
rock the kid for 5 hours, bro. Caffeine up. Yeah. Let's go. We need you on the top of your game.
You could have just been like, give me the kid.
Yeah, I would have done it.
Hand me the kid.
Can you imagine? The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is brought to you by MortgageCS. We got this great email about MortgageCS. Hey, Spike, Mike, and the team. Just wanted to relay how MortgageCS recently helped me. Although I live in North Carolina and we knew they could not help me directly with my situation due to North Carolina laws, they still offered to speak with me over the phone, which we did for about 30 minutes. I would have been happy with an email reply, but Alec was great talking to me and my wife about all the different scenarios related to a cash-out refinance. Alec taught me that term. While most everyone says, well, you need to hire a financial advisor to get specific advice, Alec was happy to suggest the best course of action, even though they were not going to make a dime off of us. That's what they're about over at MortgageCS. They're an independent mortgage broker who's there to help, who is staffed in a way and take on the right amount of business, so they're always going to be accessible to you. A lot of times in recent years and months, mortgage companies, because they're not dealing with as many, have staffed down and they take on too much. They're not always getting back to you. That's not the way that MortgageCS is. A couple of things. First of all, you should start with MortgageCS. They should be your first call. A lot of times when you're going to buy a house, the realtor that's selling the house will recommend that you use their mortgage broker. You do not have to do that. The realtor is getting something out of that. That's why they do it. So if you use MortgageCS first, then you can get that advice first. Also, don't buy it when they tell you, oh, there's not enough time to switch mortgage brokers. If you get a quote from somebody else, there's always a time to get a second opinion. So even if you're already pre-approved with somebody else, give a call to MortgageCS, go to the website. You'll notice a difference, forgetting about the rates for a second, a difference in how responsive they are, a difference in how they treat you, transparency, knowledge, all that stuff. So you at least will get some advice in the situation. Like I said, they're always available to you. Ben, the CEO, who the emailer mentioned. No, Ben, he mentioned Alec, who is also great. Love Alec. Ben, the CEO, here is his cell phone number. You can text him or call him at any time. See what he thinks of the Phils right now. 267-391-7425. That is Ben's cell phone number. Anytime. 267-391-7425. Or go to mortgagecs.com/Ricky. Learn more about them. See the amazing microsite they've built only for Ricky listeners. That way they know you are a Ricky VIP. Again, call or text Ben or go to mortgagecs.com/Ricky to schedule a consultation. If you don't believe me, search for them on Google. You'll see all the 5-star reviews, hundreds of them there. This advertisement, not a commitment to lend or extend credit. Mortgage CS is an equal housing opportunity mortgage broker. All loans are subject to credit approval. Certain restrictions may apply. Company NMLS 1464766 or visit mortgagecs.com/Ricky for more information. Okay, next training camp, buying it or not buying it. And Embiid, I don't have the quote in front of me, but he referenced this again. He said something to the effect of, if I want to play in a situation where I should not play, they should physically force me to not play. It is on them. I think Maxey even weighed in on that he would be a voice in that.
It's Big Dom time.
Yeah. How badly? Well, Big Dom is officially a coach now, so I don't know if he has time for that. I don't know if you know that, but he is. So do you believe that they will be able to manage that properly given his comments in training camp?
No.
You're
not always.
Okay.
I think there will be a couple times. You set the over/under at 1.5 for back-to-backs played,
back-to-backs,
and I think there will be times when he just does it and plays again. But hopefully the part of the quote that I liked was when he went something like, "I will think back to the times that they've told me to not play and they were right," and hopefully that can be established. But the thing that I think if he trusts the other guys, if Maxey and PG are healthy and they're playing at a relatively high level and Drummond is his backup and they can survive that, then he will feel less compelled to okay, I got to suit up and because we're hopeless. It's an automatic loss without me. So
I think that's a good point too.
That will be part of it's like he's got to mature in the sense of okay, keep eye on the prize. The thing that matters the most is the playoffs. But also what will help in that maturation is him having faith in the team to not completely fold without him.
I agree with that. And I also think it started happening in the playoffs last year with Maxey taking over in the fourth quarters. Yeah. And it was partially because Embiid was gassed in the way that he was. It was partially, I think, because Embiid started realizing that Maxey was capable. And also it's easier to do those things from the perimeter than it is from where Joel operates. So I do think that I think that's a good point. The more confident he is that the team isn't going to fall apart without him, which, by the way, might be an adjustment for him from an ego perspective, I think, too, to let that go, that he doesn't have to do everything all the time. But I do think his trust in the team will build on that. Okay. For the next buying it or not buying it, we have 2 separate video clips. Here is the first one. This comes courtesy of Sam DiGiovanni from Clutch Points. Here is Joel Embiid talking about Jared McCain.
I mean, he competes. He's tough, competes. Great shot. Shot maker. His shot. He's been shooting the ball extremely well. Great energy. I think he has a pretty good chance. I don't want to put the expectations out there, but I gotta see more. But so far, it's been good. Just great personality.
And then here is Coach Nick Nurse talking about Jared McCain.
First of all, I continue to really like him. Listen, he's got a really good IQ for the game. His toughness level is up there, man. I mean, he's a scrapper. He really works at the defensive end. He's one of those guys that, too, you're like, man, there's a big pile over there, and he comes out with the ball, and you're like, how did he do that? Well, he's just one of those guys that does it. I don't know how he does it, but he's a guy that's got kind of that knack and nose for that. He's got some toughness. He had a good day today. He really had to work. The vets were picking him up and going at him hard. the whole time, which is good. And I thought he handled it. It was not easy out there for him today, but he continued to just keep playing and make plays. Yeah.
And here is a quote from Eric Gordon on Jared McCain. He can play without a doubt. I would say he's going to have a good long career. So, Mike, are you buying or not buying the fact that Jared McCain is impressing people at training camp?
I'm buying exactly what you just said, that he's impressing people at training camp. I do think it's real. I don't think Embiid says this shit willy-nilly. I don't think he's just out there giving compliments to people. I like that he's Nick Nurse kind of player, scrapper, like go get the ball kind of deal. You don't see that with a guy that with his like shot profile as often. The ability to just like get in the fucking muck and come out with the ball. If I was a 100% true blue Jared McCain guy, this would send me into a place that I couldn't imagine. But
you're not.
I'd be pitching Jared McCain starting. I'd be close to it. I am not a Jared McCain guy. That doesn't mean I dislike him entirely, but I'm just skeptical. Wouldn't have been the guy I picked. Excited to be proven wrong. Happy that these guys are saying this stuff, but it's still like a show me you can score against NBA defenses, NBA length, NBA athleticism, and that you can handle. I think you will eventually be able to handle defensively, at least not being a negative. And it's just like show me where the positive. I think Seth Curry is still highest ceiling, and that's not exactly my kind of player. But I'm not saying he can't become a useful player. Hopefully, this is what I imagine is that in any power forward type trade, I do think McCain's going to be in that trade.
Yes, I agree.
So if they can talk him up now, if he has good preseason moments, if he can look good in garbage time, or if somebody gets hurt or something and they insert him in a rotation and he looks kind of decent, and they can maximize his value before it goes down in sort of a Jaden Springer type of way, then I think they would do it. But I do believe that they like him. I do believe that he's shooting well. I don't think Embiid would just say that. I'm just still not. It's not selling me on it quite yet.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think he's going to be a Sixer for long. I like the fact that this stuff is good. You know, I hope he plays well in preseason games. I hope his value goes up. Yeah. But they have enough.
Because he wasn't good. He wasn't good at Summer League.
Yeah, he was not at all. He was kind of a. He seems like I'm not going to say this every time. Everybody knows he seems like a good kid. He seems like a good kid, but the Summer League actually kind of bummed me out a little bit watching him in a lot of different ways. So,
but it's beyond good kid. Like, it's not good kid in the Tobias D way.
No.
In addition to that, of course, and I think there was an Embiid quote that said he's just like Maxey. They're just like smiling for no reason, and it was funny to hear him say that because you could tell he was like a little bit annoyed by it. Like, why the fuck? Why are they so happy? What's going on? But it's also the work ethic that happens off the court that you can see on the court.
Yep.
Like, I'm sure Tobias has a great work ethic off the court, but you couldn't see it on the court.
Well, he never got one loose ball or took one charge.
Right.
And he didn't, I don't know if you remember, but he didn't score any points in his final game.
That is so interesting. I had forgotten that. It doesn't come up in my mind space often. But McCain is more that kind of player where you can just you just buy it. You see how much he gives a shit. You see it on the court. You see how much he's working. And I do think he will turn into a fine Seth Curry, Landry Shamet-ish type of player. That's just not my kind of guy.
So on the last pod, Mike, I made a mention. We had taken an email or voicemail from a female listener, and she said, and we talked about, I mentioned to you that the statistics indicate that about 3% of our listeners are women.
Wrong.
So we got some emails, and in almost every one of the subject line, it says, I am one of the 3%.
Let's go.
So I wanted to read to you the communications we got from the 3%. Now,
I got some texts as well, separately. So
now we have thousands and thousands of listeners, so 3% is still I didn't say they didn't exist. I want to be clear. And I would love for them to be a higher percentage. But
I
the
think
numbers,
if you're responding within a couple days, then there, even the people that are not listening to every single episode, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying 3% at all.
well, and I want to be clear. I guess there's a hate group called the 3%ers. These are not the 3%ers.
Yeah,
they are
come on
members
now.
of the 3%.
Come on.
Different.
It's way closer to 20.
Okay, so this came from Tiffany.
CJ, back me up.
Hey, Spike, Mike, and CJ. My name is Tiffany, and I've been a Ricky listener for about 5 years now. I actually was the one, if you can remember, who called up after the Harden trade and mentioned that my husband woke me up by whispering in my ear that the trade was final, and I started bawling my eyes out due to being overjoyed that the saga was finally over. With the recent discussion about the 4% women demographic, she's already pumping it up.
Thank you.
I figured it'd be worth reaching out to share that I'm actually the primary listener, and my husband is the one being forced to listen to the Ricky.
Hell
He
yeah.
enjoys it, but never listens on his own. I also wanted to share that because I listened to you guys throughout my whole pregnancy, I am now raising another female Ricky fan, 7-month-old Mariana, who's always responded positively to the sound of your voices. In times when she's grumpy, I'll put on the Ricky or Casey Musgraves, and she immediately chills out.
That's
I just wanted to thank you guys for the work that you do. When I started listening 5 years ago, I was a casual basketball fan. After listening to you guys over the years, I feel I have a real understanding of all things basketball and enjoy the sport more than ever. Sorry for the long email. With love from Fishtown, Tiffany, a Mike guy. P.S.
yeah.
This is the fucking year. P.P.S. I laughed so hard I cried this morning on the L listening to the most recent pod when Spike used the same-sex couple name for the shared email account. Mike's reaction was also mine. I loved it so much. This came from Tracy. Hello, boys. I'm one of the 3% of the women who listen to the Ricky, and my sister, hi Meg, introduced me to it when I started becoming a serious Sixers fan in 2020.
The numbers are skyrocketing.
They're skyrocketing. I got my husband into it, but from now on, I will exclusively recommend it to women to increase our numbers. Mike said he's a women guy, and I identify as a Mike guy since I too handle discomfort with humor and negativity. This annoys my Spike guy husband, who is relentlessly positive and not as funny as me.
In every marriage, there's a Mike guy and a Spike guy.
Yes. As for the dunks versus guitar solo debate, you're asking the wrong question. The question you should be asking is, which is more attractive? Athleticism wins over watching someone feed his own ego with a long guitar solo. My husband destroyed several men and women in a bounce house obstacle course this summer, and it's the hottest he's ever been. I don't speak for all women, but at least the 3%. Love the pod, even in August. Now,
I would like to do a bounce house obstacle course.
I just want to reverse this by saying I think it is more attractive if a woman is like playing a guitar than dunking. For me, like St. Vincent looks pretty cool when she's fucking rocking, or Phoebe Bridgers or something, and I do not get the same sort of feeling when I'm watching dunking. But
No,
that's
they
just-
totally look cool, and imagine how much cooler they would look if Phoebe Bridgers was dunking.
Nah, she looks pretty cool with a guitar, actually.
Yeah, she could do both.
This
The
is from
dunking
Madison. Hi, Spike, woman guy, CJ, and Daryl. I heard you guys talking about how many women listen to your podcast. I knew I had to reach out. I think the number of women who listen to the pod is higher than Spike thinks it is.
Let's go.
I started listening to the pod in 2017, and it was actually because my boyfriend at the time loved to listen to Bill Simmons, and he was always listening to him in the car. After a few episodes of the Bill Simmons pod, I came to the realization that Bill Simmons hates the Sixers, and since that's pretty annoying as a Sixers fan, I set out to find some guys who don't hate the Sixers. Thus, I became a Ricky listener.
on.
Yeah,
Hang
wrong
on.
pod, wrong pod. I'd like to believe there's a somewhat large contingent of women who started listening because of their boyfriends, husbands, partners turned it on at first, but now they listen on their own accord. I now live very far away from Philadelphia. I live in Seattle, and I look forward to listening on a regular basis to feel connected during the highs and lows. That's all I really wanted to say. I'd just like a formal acknowledgement that you'll consider changing the unofficial documented percentage of female Ricky listeners to at least 15% based
Bump
on
it up.
female alone.
Bump it up. Here's my theory on the Spike guy, Mike guy thing.
Yeah.
And this is because you're obviously way more public than I am.
Yep.
Way more, I would say, I don't think I'm offending you by saying more of a lightning rod
Yes,
than
for sure.
I am.
Which is part of the reason I'm more public, by the way.
For
Yes.
sure.
Yep.
I think that the Spike guys who listen to this podcast tolerate me and get annoyed at things I say, or like grumble through hating me and my opinions. And I think the Mike guys, many of them, that hate you
Yes.
have stopped listening to the podcast.
No, you're crazy.
That's my opinion. I think because of how out there you are, not out there opinion wise, out there in public. I think the Mike guys have tapered off because I'm not good enough to keep them here for how much they dislike you.
That is so insulting.
You
honestly.
think? I wasn't
Yes.
trying to be insulting.
Yeah, I mean,
I really
luckily-
wasn't trying to be.
Luckily, I take insulting.
I truly was not.
reasonably
That
well.
was not trying to be an insult. I was trying to assess the situation of what it seems like over the 11 years of doing this podcast. If you listen to this podcast from like 2015 to 2019, that's still a long ass time.
Yeah,
And
I think. Well, can I say this as well?
Please.
I do think that the anti-Spike guys are more vocal than the anti-Mike guys because there's more opportunity to be an anti-Spike guy.
For sure.
But it might be true. What you said might be true. Two more. This actually came, I'll do Scott's last. But this came from Maggie. Maggie says, "Hi, Spike and Mike." And this is actually very charming. "I am not a regular Rights Ricky Sanchez listener. However, I am the proud recipient of an LL Pavorsky ring after your podcast indoctrinated my fiance into purchasing an engagement ring there. The ring is beautiful, by the way. Anyways, a recent conversation I had with my 80-year-old grandmother reminded me of the Ricky. She has always been a big baseball fan. By the way, finding out a lot of older women, old ladies, big baseball fans. And is now a diehard Phillies fan. She's from New York and was a massive Brooklyn Dodgers fan before they moved to LA. As a result, she is now an avid hater of all New York State basketball, the Mets in particular. This has caused genuine tension as we still have family in New York that are equally invested in the Mets as she is invested in hating them. Since I know the upcoming playoff series between the Phillies and the Mets is bound to be an emotional experience, I called up my grandmother to see if my fiance and I could bring her some food and cheer on the Phillies against the Mets together. I thought having company and food would be a great time together with my grandmother. Before I could even finish describing my plan, she shot my idea down because she won't be able to scream and curse at the television as she needs to if she has company. My grandmother's response reminded me exactly of the descriptions Mike has watching the Sixers play while in self-imposed seclusion on the West Coast. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that Mike reminds me of my grandmother. Love the pod, Maggie.
Honored.
Yes. And then finally, this came from Scott. Scott says, "Hi, Spike, Mike, CJ, Harold, and Tony. This is Scott, currently living outside of D.C., but grew up in Glenside and started listening in 2019 when a coworker who was also from the Philly suburbs introduced me to the pod. Was listening to the latest episode and the conversation about the percentage of female listeners, and I definitely think there's a chunk of girlfriends, wives, partners who aren't showing up in the stats.
Thank you.
My wife, who is from California, and I drive to D.C. together for work, and I listen to an assortment of Philly sports podcasts. Whenever there's a new Ricky, she legitimately pays attention and will talk about the pod. When I'm listening to an Eagles pod or something, she's just generally annoyed and mutes it while doing work calls. She's a big fan of the Jigsaws and Tony T for some reason, but not only does she listen to the pod undetected by the app, she's also now an Amos Lee and War on Drugs fan.
Wow.
And we got a big barker for our dog Phoebe, a 100-pound rescue mix. Unfortunately, we got married in 2010. I didn't go to LL for the engagement ring. Thanks, guys. Keep up the great work. I bet there's at least 10 other women who listen to the pod with their partners, and some of them probably enjoy
There's
it.
way more.
Now, Mike, I put
Do you feel like the numbers are wrong?
Well, Mike, I put in the notes the official stats from YouTube and from Spotify. Now, this does not account for Apple. It just and other apps, just these two. And YouTube reports 1.6% women, and the Spotify reports 4.4%, 90% male, 5.1% non-specified, which I'm sure you're going to take credit for, and 0.2% is non-binary.
I count them.
Yeah. So my question to you is, do you feel differently after now seeing the statistics?
No, I feel rallied by the emailers and the texts I received and the people coming out of the woodwork.
That there's more women, also more people that hate me that the numbers are showing.
That's right. That's right.
What
do the numbers say about that?
Yeah.
Does Spotify measure that?
Yeah, Spotify's got to start measuring that. Now, speaking of Phoebe, they mentioned Phoebe. Here is Phoebe. Do you have Phoebe, CJ? No, maybe. There's Phoebe on her big barker. Does she count? Phoebe sounds like a female name.
Count.
Could be female. There, she's sleeping on a big barker. Big barker. You got to get your dog a big barker like Phoebe. Look now here. if you're watching the pod, I want you to look right here at this. Look at Phoebe laying on the Big Barker and notice something really important there. Phoebe's laying on the Big Barker, which is a real bed, a real mattress, and notice she's not sinking down to the ground. And then think about these dog beds you see at the pet store that look like pillows, basically, that when your dog lays on sinks all the way down. I just want you to think about your mattress. When you lay on your mattress, it doesn't squash all the way to the ground. No, because it's supportive. That's what the Big Barker's like. You got to get your dog a Big Barker because it keeps your dog healthier. It's been proven. They proved it with a Penn Vet study that showed an improvement in joint function, a reduction in pain severity, a reduction in joint stiffness. This is all to give your dog a better life. Which is your job. You adopted the dog. Give the dog a better life. Go to bigbarker.com/Ricky. That's bigbarker.com/Ricky. You get the processed pup patch. Not only do you get this black and white one, you get a red, white, and blue one. You get a bunch of stickers, but also you're giving your dog a life of health and happiness. And here's the other thing for you as a human. You're not sleeping on the bed, but it does look pretty nice compared to other shitty dog beds. It comes in all different colors, all different sizes for tiny dogs, all the way up to giant dogs like Phoebe, 100 pounds. That's a big dog. So go to bigbarker.com/Ricky, get your Big Barker dog bed, learn more, and send us a photo like Phoebe. Phoebe, and now officially a process pup. There's a 10-year warranty. The foam doesn't flatten or they replace it for free. A 1-year at-home trial. If you don't like it, your dog won't sleep on it. It happens. They'll give you a full refund. They'll even pay for the shipping. And handmade in the USA. Big Barker dog beds. Wow, that sounds like a dog in pain, a dog not sleeping on a Big Barker, to be quite honest with you. So you remember Jahlil Okafor, right, Mike? Do you?
Yes.
Do you remember Bryan Colangelo?
I do as well.
So Jahlil Okafor signed like an Exhibit 10 deal with somebody or training camp deal with somebody, I think. Was it the Pacers?
It was the Pacers.
It was the Pacers. So here is Jahlil Okafor talking about going from a top 3 pick to not even being in the league and now being where he is in his career. And he does talk about Bryan Colangelo. Here is Jahlil Okafor.
From year one, playing, being like first team all rookie, averaging 18 and 7, really
going crazy.
And then I got hurt like halfway into my rookie year.
Your second year?
My rookie year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got hurt my rookie year, so I didn't finish the season, but I still played well. But then, like, that was the end of year one. We get to the end of year 3, it's like no NBA team wants me. So I go from like, being first team all NBA. I mean, not first team. I'm sorry, rookie, like first team all rookie.
Yeah.
To having a good rookie year, and then so like year 3 in a situation to where there really wasn't an NBA team that I could get on. I signed a 2-year non-guarantee to the Pelicans.
What? Sheesh.
Yeah.
And you have no idea what the fuck happened.
There was a lot that happened. I mean, there's so much that I can go into. I still want to play in the NBA, so there's some stuff that I won't say. But I will say in Philly, there was some stuff going on that wasn't in my control. And our front office, I mean, our general manager had the burner account.
Oh, yeah.
And he was dissing some of the players and kind of like defending himself on certain situations on his burner account.
Gotcha.
I just say that to show like the person I was dealing with, like that's the person I was dealing with day in and day out.
Gotcha.
So that kind of like soured my taste for the NBA.
Got you. No, it's tough. Hey, listen, me and you talked about it before we even started, the business of it. I just personally can't take anymore. It is what it is. It's tough. It's nice. Everyone sees the glitz and glamours of it, but we deal with a whole lot of shit that people just don't see.
That is the Run Your Race podcast hosted by Theo Pinson and AJ Richardson. I do kind of feel bad for Jahlil Okafor.
Sure.
He seems like, I felt bad hearing him talk about it that way. And I do think, the biggest crime that Colangelo had from a Jahlil Okafor perspective is that he didn't trade him soon enough, and he let his value rot away from a Sixers standpoint. But then also, I think probably, his skill set is not particularly valuable in the NBA anymore. It seems like he could have been on a team somewhere, right? Or no?
No.
No?
I mean, so yeah, you feel bad for the kid. He was a kid. He was a really good college player. The Sixers drafted him at 3, which was an obvious mistake the moment it happened. It was like, that is very obviously Hinkie's worst thing that he did.
And we were all fearing the idea, leading up to the draft, the idea of taking Jahlil Okafor was our biggest fear.
Didn't want Okafor leading up to the draft, even when we were significantly dumber 10 years ago. It's not like it was a great draft class. You look back, Porzingis went right after him, but Porzingis' agent was hiding him to prevent the Sixers from taking him there.
And Porzingis has been on 5 teams before he really found his
Sure, but obviously
anyway.
a well above average NBA player since he got drafted, whereas Okafor was never that. And it was not they should have traded down, they should have traded out. It was whatever it was just not good at all. The logic of Hinkie being like, well, I mean, he never said this, but presumed logic was he's going to perform year 1 and someone will be convinced to trade a lot for him, whatever it was. The year was just a mess. That's when everything went sour and everything. He's right about Colangelo. The issue with Jahlil Okafor, and that's why it was funny watching like Theo Pinson and the other guy like react to it, was just like, he wasn't good enough. You don't think in the NBA that if somebody was like really good and could play in multiple systems that someone would take a chance on him because Colangelo wrote some weird shit online? I'm sure that was tough, but that's obviously like they're like searching for the mystery. And the mystery was like he didn't play defense. He didn't stretch the floor. And frankly, he wasn't as good of a post player as he was in college. Like if he was an elite post player, Nikola Jokic, then like he would be on a team. And he's not. He wasn't good enough. And he just didn't do enough things at a high level to where you could go. It's kind of like what might happen to Bryce Young on the Panthers, in that like if this guy's not a starting quarterback that you can be like a franchise guy, then they're probably going to go. Teams around the league will probably go with somebody that is like safer.
Yeah.
In a sense of doesn't have to plan a whole game plan for them. Like it's obviously a cross sport metaphor, so it's not perfect. But like Okafor can't just slide in and go be like, hey, go be Clint Capella somewhere.
Yeah.
Or go be, I mean, he's basically got to be like Luka Garza, who's backing up the big guys in Minnesota, who now stretches the floor at least. And Okafor didn't do that, and maybe now he can, and that's an interesting thing. And he still has like light feet and that kind of deal, but it just wasn't good enough. And he couldn't hang his hat on enough things where he was not the centerpiece of an offense to survive. What happened to him was a bummer for him, but he never got good enough, and he never recognized his flaws enough to survive in the modern NBA.
Yeah, I think if you're going to be a center that has only one skill, the first one that teams are going to look at is defense, is protect the rim. Yep. The second they're going to look at is hit threes, stretch the floor. And the posting up is going to be pretty. And remember, Okafor was never a good rebounder either.
Yeah.
So which would probably be the number 3 thing they would look for, as that would be wrapped into defense. So I agree with you there. I don't think the burner accounts, what they said, mattered, but I do think Colangelo, like letting his value run down, probably prevented a team for trading for him and doing whatever they could to try to get something out of him, because they would have traded more for him. But
his 3 seasons in Philly never had a defensive rebound percentage over 20. And that's like as a starting center.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Yeah.
He's not athletic enough or had enough, relentlessness getting after a ball, high motor, just didn't do enough stuff to play good basketball. And that's why he wasn't in the NBA. And he got a couple shots after that from New Orleans and Detroit, and he wasn't good enough there. And it was like, okay, well, you move on. People give you that opportunity when you're in your early 20s, see if you can recapture some of the stuff that made you the 3rd overall pick. He didn't. And then like he's been in the wilderness since then.
Yeah. And
he's still, maybe he makes the Pacers. That'd be kind of cool. He's 28.
Yeah.
He just wasn't, he wasn't good enough.
I have no There are not a lot of players. There might just be one. I have no animosity toward Jahlil Okafor. I have animosity toward this Sam Hinkie for drafting him and the Sixers for getting rid of Sam Hinkie before. Sam Hinkie would not have waited 3 years to trade Jahlil Okafor. I don't, it would have been an insane situation if he had. So I don't blame Jahlil Okafor for being Jahlil Okafor. I have no bad feelings toward Jahlil Okafor, I guess. Do we do this first?
It's tough in these. I mean, maybe it's just like wearing your old like high school stuff and saying like I used to be good, basically. But like to cite your rookie stats, and it's like, yeah, it was one of the worst teams ever. Like somebody had to eat it, and I don't know. It's tough. It would have been nice if the Sixers had traded down, because he did have like a high. There wasn't a who should they have taken instead. I was very high on Porzingis at the time. I was also very high on like Stanley Johnson, who obviously also didn't, and Justice Winslow, who also didn't become great NBA players. So this is not like me doing a victory lap. But if there was somebody that like a trade down would have been really nice. Devin Booker went later in that draft. Miles Turner, Kelly Oubre, Terry
Devin Booker, who you didn't want to trade Jahlil Okafor for.
Well, it's not, again, that was his rookie year. It was not unreasonable to say that the third overall pick I would rather have over the 13th overall pick.
I get to hold on that one. Maybe it's why people won't listen to the podcast, because I won't let that go. But
That's fine.
So
Bobby Portis later in that draft. DeLon Wright, my guy. Like I trade down for a role player at least. That guys play hard.
So we have huge news here that listener Rob uncovered, and Kelly, CJ's girlfriend, uncovered as well, regarding Mike and BodyBio. CJ, can you show this video? The Rights Ricky Sanchez brought to you by BodyBio. We love BodyBio. Mike, this is a video that Rob saw on his, looks like, Instagram feed.
So butyrate, really, like, my stomach no longer controls my life.
Sodium butyrate is my absolute favorite. Helps your metabolism, helps rebuild the gut microbiome.
My gut has really improved. I'm so much more regular. I can go out and do things and eat things without worrying.
It really helps with reducing inflammation of the gut. And the best part is that it also helps with brain fog, which I think we all need. I take it every day, 2 capsules.
Butyrate by BodyBio.
Let's go.
There it is.
We did it.
An influencer.
It's so stupid hearing my dumbass voice in the midst of like people that are like, I do this kind of all the time, and instead of me being like, I don't know, what do you think? Trying it, probably good. I'm going out. I don't know, but I'm out there, man. Finally, sweep week upon us.
Should be noted from a percentage situation. Now, we didn't hear whether they were Ricky listeners or not, but you were in the influencer video with 2 other women.
That's right.
Listeners
so, probably.
Yeah, probably Ricky listeners. We love BodyBio. Mike is an official influencer. I think you need to change on the video portion on your name part. You should just put Mike Levin influencer on there. Mike does take sodium butyrate, which is a product you should take as a gut supplement. If you're just going to take one gut supplement, take butyrate. Butyrate. Are you happy? You feeling good?
It surprised me. It surprised me, and I do think I look dumb as hell. But, that's what it's all about.
I'm a big E-Light guy. I love it from a hydration perspective. We were talking the Eagles in that game where they got obliterated in Tampa. There was a huge, hydration question about that. My dad passed out once from being dehydrated, and now he drinks this fucking like Gatorade and Powerade all the time. Don't do that. Use just E-Light. Get rid of all the artificial sugars, the artificial colors, all that. This is just fucking electrolytes. And the new product, Fish Oil Plus. Just of all the fish oil products, I know you're going to look on the back and say, well, this is the same. The difference is that BodyBio's fish oil is made in a way where your body is going to absorb more of those nutrients by using higher quality products to make the fish oil. They use wild herring caviar for it. And it's also going they test the stuff in a way that these other companies do not. Test for heavy metals, oxidation, prolonged heat exposure, all that sort of stuff. And it's not just sitting on a shelf somewhere like the stuff that you see on a drugstore shelf. So go to bodybio.com, use code Norman for 20% off any of these products at any time. whether it is butyrate, which Mike is an influencer for, Fish Oil Plus, E-Light.
Wait, it's Norman for BodyBio too?
It's just Norman for BodyBio.
It's just Norman for BodyBio. Okay,
Yeah.
That's interesting that Norman would be for gut health. In my mind, it's been for Big Barker, but
no.
But Norman, I guess, famously has good shits.
Yeah. Well, Mike asked me for a promo code. I told him Norman. And you're not going to see that promo code in the notes, so write it down. We don't put it in the notes, so only Ricky listeners.
And that's why I
get
didn't
it.
remember, because it's not in the notes.
Yep. BodyBio.com. And we purposely do that because we don't want non-Ricky listeners using the code. So code Norman, BodyBio.com. That is Norman. We love BodyBio. Well, the relationship advice through our 3rd August continues.
I keep my heart under my pillow with my teeth and other lies. I've been waiting on your halo just to shine the light.
That is Eliza Hardy-Jones, relationship advice theme.
Just to shine the light.
Writes to Ricky Sanchez at gmail.com. Luckily, this one not as unhinged as our last one. And I have to tell you, the final line of this email is an all-timer line.
Okay, I'm not going to look.
And is related to this, the fact that this is from Anonymous. Starts off, hey, Spike, Mike, Daryl, and CJ. I have a bit of a lighter relationship advice scenario than the last pods. It's not that light, actually, but it's lighter. I would agree with that. I've been seeing this girl for a few months now, been going pretty strong. She, from the get-go, is very into me. I liked hanging out with her. We've hung out quite a bit in a not so long amount of time. At this point, she's made it clear she would like to take things more seriously and doesn't want to see anyone but me, but understood that I wanted to take things slower. Again, we've hung out a lot, met each other's friends, and I guess in a, quote, making it official timeline are pretty close to the finish line. She's a great girl. I've enjoyed getting to know her, but I can definitively say I'm not interested in a long-term relationship. No specific reason. I unfortunately just can't see myself with her. I would like to simply tell her this in a respectable way. However, she goes on a girls' trip to Europe this week. I'm battling between telling her and thinking it's best we stop seeing each other before or after the trip. My fear in telling her now is that I don't want her to be saddened right before she leaves before her trip. And I want her to enjoy the trip to the fullest without the emotional pain that I think this will cause her. It's also a different thing. It's a difficult thing to punt till after, as she likes constant communication and reassurance. She told me she was going to FaceTime me every day. I would hate to be continuing to lead her on for 2 weeks while she's gone and providing false reassurances, knowing I'm just going to cut things off as soon as she does return. Right now, I'm leaning toward telling her now in hopes that it's easier to find solace on the European beaches and perhaps an Italian hunk, but any advice is appreciated. Side note, sad to hear CJ moved. I used to see him walk his dog in the neighborhood. I once walked by him and instinctively said, hi, CJ, as if I knew him. He handled the weird scenario I put with him with grace once I explained I'm a Ricky listener. And here comes a great line. Keep it anonymous, please. I have people that I don't care for that I know listen to the pod. What the fuck, man? Do you mean that you don't want them to hear this, or that you just don't like them and you don't want a mutual thing that you guys can talk about?
I like that.
So, CJ, first of all, thank you for handling this meeting with grace. Do you remember it, CJ?
No, I don't know who this is specifically.
Okay.
There's been a handful of interactions, but
people are saying hi, CJ, all the time.
Yeah,
all the time.
All the time. So, Mike, this is an interesting scenario. I'm glad that you asked Anonymous. I tend to agree in that you should do it beforehand, because that way, if she wants to go, the best way to recover from breaking up with somebody is to see somebody else, and her being with her friends and maybe, as you said, meet an Italian hunk. I do think you're being kind in thinking about it this way. I appreciate the fact that you're thinking about it, but I would err toward your gut in that doing it sooner is better.
Yeah, there's no good time to break up with somebody. It obviously sucks. The fact that it's only been for a few months, I think, is sort of like you'd be doing. It's a better move to be like, hey, go have fun in Europe with your friends and have them be around you, and you can like get past it. Obviously, she's gonna be bummed no matter what. But if it's me, I'd rather be like, okay, fuck you, I'm going to Europe and I'm gonna have a great time, rather than I get home from Europe, okay, now I get to see you again, you're breaking up with me. Fuck, I wish I knew that when I was in Europe having fun, instead of just now I'm home and I have the vacation come down and now also a breakup come down. There's no great time. I don't think there's a perfect option, but I would say before, because maybe she's gonna want to go like, okay, are there any like Euro basket games that I want to go see? And now maybe I can see like any former Sixers who's playing in Belgium.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
And I want to let you know from the outset, no matter what you do, if you do it beforehand, obviously she will be upset. If you do it beforehand, she will probably say to you, I can't believe you did this just before the trip. But if you did it afterwards, she would probably say to you, I can't believe you lied to me for the last 2 weeks while I was on this trip. So don't doubt the decision you made based on her reaction. Nobody likes getting broken up with. She will be mad at you either way, most likely.
I would do it like as soon as you can.
Yeah,
really. So that
today.
you can then have a couple days of being sad, and then the trip can come at it, rather than like take her to the airport and be like, by the way, this is gonna be it.
Yeah. Yes, do it now, today. The cooler comment.
Do it live.
Do it live. We're doing it live. The Cooler comment on the pod. Cooler is a podcast app that we're working with that allows you to comment on each pod, and also create sort of community. No bad comments on there as far as I've noticed. Everybody's been pretty cool. And you get to see leaderboards of who's listened to what pod the most. We actually have 2 of them. This comes from Mike. Imagine explaining to the ancient Greek philosopher who came up with the ship of Theseus how frequently it's being referenced on a Sixers podcast and how it's even being used as a verb. You'd have to first explain to this ancient Greek philosopher what a podcast is. And this comes from Tom. Very great. And Mike, this speaks to your earlier comment. Very grateful that this comment section is absolutely nothing like Twitter's. Plus, they hate Spike over there. Crying, laughing emoji.
There you go.
So, and then the hard to stomach YouTube comment of the week comes from MC Square Wolf 9557. Now, this is in reference to the story that Anthony Davis is doing Impractical Jokers episodes, and we laughed about it, saying how focused the Lakers are. This commenter says, what's not cool about the Impractical Jokers? That show is awesome. I love the show. I concur. I can watch 25 straight episodes of the show. I do miss Joe. Is Joe the guy that left? But seeing what the Lakers are focused on is the part. Did you see the JJ Redick clip of him berating a reporter already?
I scrolled past it. I didn't watch the thing, but he is really taking that tone, which is it is really not how he acted as a player or as a media person.
Well,
he was a little bit smug for sure.
Yeah.
And that comes with just the Duke, I think. But like he's turned it on so much. It's like it's so bizarre how he's gotten a job that he doesn't deserve.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying he's not going to be good at it, but like objectively, he doesn't deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's never coached before at any level. And now he gets to coach one of the most storied franchises in sports, playing for one of the best athletes in human history.
Mm-hmm.
And he's now the coach. And he's taken that opportunity to become a dickhead instead of being like, yeah, I mean, this is crazy cool. Like you could go gracious in that mode instead of becoming like completely antagonistic and so self-assured that it makes you seem more pathetic than I think you actually are. I don't think he's pathetic, but he's acting pathetic.
Yeah. So instead of playing the clip, because the sound is not that good, could you put it up just because the text is there?
Yeah, this is what I said.
So
but I didn't agree with your thing either. I saw it from you, Ezra. Now I'm remembering it.
Well, I was right. I mean,
saying that like basketball Twitter's gonna love this shit.
They already do. You should see the replies to me.
That's right. Well, what is basketball Twitter?
It is
like Lakers fans.
No, it is specific, and it's this person, by the way. This person. Look at this. The first line of this tweet, JJ Redick answered the Rui question beautifully. There is the basketball Twitter that made JJ, there's a certain segment of basketball Twitter that is obsessed with like shaming everybody who isn't just thinking about basketball in some sort of deep XOs way.
This guy's a Lakers fan.
Yes, but I'm telling you.
He's got 388 followers.
Look at the replies to my tweet. Anyway, he says that JJ Redick answered this question perfectly. Essentially, all that happened was the reporter said, Do you think that Rui could take that next step for you guys? JJ, what is the next step? Reporter, you tell me. JJ, you tell me. You're creating the narrative. I don't know about the next step. I just care about how he impacts winning.
Yeah.
Like,
obviously ridiculous.
It's a normal question. How is this young player going to get better? It's a totally normal question.
Completely.
Yeah. So
I just think the idea that like this guy with 388 followers is like a part of like basketball Twitter. I guess in my mind, basketball Twitter is like the more online media segment of people that follow the NBA.
Well, so
not just like people that talk, like random fans that talk about basketball,
but it's
and
both.
get in people's mentions.
So I think the media that you're talking about are the people that a lot of times aren't even
had a
really,
blog in 2012.
Yes, not even really media anymore. Sometimes it's this isn't like follower shaming. That's not what this is. It's sort of like the 3,200 follower puts NBA in their Twitter name, and also in their Twitter bio puts featured on Bleacher Report, ESPN. That is who I'm talking about.
But I don't know. I mean, I think it's a wide range. I think there's those guys that are like whatever JJ Redick Muse or whatever. Those kinds of guys. I don't consider that to be. I consider basketball Twitter to be a little bit of a higher esteem of people rather than just like random stands. And
well, it's all part of basketball Twitter,
I guess. But I think the way you're talking, I don't know. To me, if you're saying it like that, then basketball Twitter is like kind of whoever you want it to be. And I think it's like if you're talking about, because you had a point about JJ in the past where it's like, oh, he just reads smart people on Twitter and he just says that on the broadcast. And I think that is who I take to be basketball Twitter. The sort of like, oh, we think about the game at a higher level, the mind the game listeners, like that kind of, those kinds of
pretend listeners.
People.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's just like randoms.
Okay. This, which one? I'm trying to think which one here would be best to 833 Lickface. How about this one? This one came to 833 Lickface.
So Spike, Mike, Norman, this is Chris. What do you think about the prospect of seeing some Embiid and Drummond in the lineup together this year? Like, I feel like maybe in some starting lineups with a little twin tower action could be interesting. I think Andre could take some of the rebounding burden off of Joel when he's on the floor. Also, kind of like open up, see what we have with Yabu and Bona. Non-basketball question. Mike, what's your favorite dunk of all time? And Spike, what's your favorite guitar solo of all time? Thanks. Love the pod.
Norman. Mike, do you have a favorite dunk?
That's so interesting. When I think of dunks,
I think dunk.
A lot of like dunk contest dunks.
I
really loved. I mean, the Iguodala ones on the dunk contest were sick. The
Zach LaVine versus
Zach LaVine, Aaron Gordon was great.
Yep.
I loved Steve Francis dunks in the dunk contest. Was a huge Steve Francis guy. Maybe the Baron Davis dunk where he rises up over somebody.
That was in the
kind of turns his body
against the Mavericks, I believe.
In a sick way.
Yeah, I think that was the playoff series where the Mavericks were top seeded and they took them. They lost. I think that's what that dunk was from.
I mean, a lot of Sean Kemp dunks.
Yeah,
were fucking awesome. The one where he points was sick. I'm getting excited just thinking about it. I mean, I wasn't a fan. I mean, the DeAndre Jordan dunk over Brandon Knight, incredible. I haven't thought about what is my favorite dunk of all time. I mean, Vince Carter in the Olympics. A lot of Vince Carter dunks are so great. I was such a Vince guy. Sweet video of Masai saying they're retiring his jersey in Toronto, which is awesome. I love Vince.
My favorite dunk is the Starks dunk from the playoffs. But
sure, yeah.
Nobody asked me that. But my favorite guitar solo is Slash's solo in not November Rain, but Estranged by Guns N' Roses. That's my favorite one. It's not that long, Mike. Don't worry about it. This, okay, we have one email left. Mike, it is either about Tommy or wiping. Which one do you want?
Let's go to Tommy. Come on, brother. Let's hear it.
Well, I don't know if CJ's going to like this one. Writes Ricky Sanchez at gmail.com. Hey guys, I live in New York City, and I was at the gym not too long ago, and all of a sudden, a guy wearing a Tobias Harris jersey walks in and starts his workout. What's the ruling here? Can you wear a jersey of a player, and when should you stop? That just felt wrong. Non-basketball, I finally Googled Tommy Alter to see what he does, and the first result under the people also ask section is, what does Tommy Alter do? So it seems like you're not the only ones asking the question. He's listed as a producer, which begs the important question, is CJ just the Ricky's version of Tommy? What does he actually do?
Wow.
CJ, do you want to defend yourself here?
Yeah, I think the most important part is that I'm probably not nearly as wealthy as Tommy Alter is. I think that's
we know that.
I think that's the most important signifier between us.
Yeah, but you should post your tax returns.
Sure, I'll release them. As long as my opponent, Tommy Alter, also releases his tax returns.
That's it. Let's do it together.
I don't think that there's any... Maybe Ben Simmons would be the only former jersey of a Sixer I would not wear. That guy, you wear the shit to the gym that you're not wearing otherwise. So
yeah, jerseys, I used to be more of a jersey guy with a player's, number and the name on the back and everything. And then it became, I don't think it's as strange as wearing a full jersey around, but it's still not quite, just doesn't vibe with me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But a basketball jersey is kind of peculiar. I see it more with baseball.
So I only have one. I have a Corey Brewer basketball jersey, but yeah, I do see more with baseball. But I have football ones too. I bought my one Phillies one that I was going to wear throughout the playoffs. I brought a Chris Sanchez jersey, and I didn't realize until it arrived that it is kind of funny that it says Sanchez on the back. That my jersey says Sanchez on the back. But
I like Sanchez starting game 2, man. I'm excited for him. I'm so
it's smart.
excited for him.
It's smart. And this Chris Sanchez ended up being my favorite player on the team. So very, very me sort of player to pick out. All right. Well, go Phils. And Mike, make sure you wear your Fitbit. Would love to know your pulse. And we didn't do the nut thing.
Yeah. Alyssa had to get out of here, so it's probably for the best.
Okay.
But we will do a when I don't work until like 10:45 the night before.
Okay.
We will do a full nut episode. Maybe after a bad Sixers loss, so the threat of me dying on pod is actually a little bit more appropriate.
And we can't shout out to Abby, who did great Mike nut art, but we will hold that art for next time.
Hold the nut art.
Hold the nut art. All right. We will talk to you next time. Go Phils. Are you down with TTP?
Yeah. Lick face.